Ahoy hoy fellow bookworms, my name is Caroline and I like to read books, so let's talk about them. Today's video is going to be my July wrap-up, which is super late, but oh well. I read 33 books in July, so we are just going to jump straight in. Just quickly though, I did actually forget to mention one book in my June wrap-up, and that book was Volume 1 of Alex and Ada by Jonathan Luna. This is the first comic in a series of 3 about our main character Alex, who gets this realistic android named Ada, and I bought this ages ago and then it sat on my shelf for ages and I decided to finally pick it up in June. I did enjoy this and I think it raised some interesting questions about artificial intelligence, but I think it definitely moved too slowly. It was like halfway or 2/3 of the way through when things actually started to get moving, and there wasn't enough character development in the first portion of that to make up for how slow it was. I am going to continue the series because I'm definitely interested to see where it goes, but this one was just a little bit slow for me. After that, I read Volume 7 of Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples, and at this stage I've completely run out of things to say about Saga because you guys know how much I love this comic series, and this was probably my favorite volume so far. It was just so heartbreaking but also really funny at moments. The art was amazing, we got new characters, and I just think it was so great. I cried in it and I can't wait for the next one. The next book I picked up was The Elephant Vanishes by Haruki Murakami, which is a collection of his short stories. I'm going to leave a link in the description to my Goodreads review for this book because I did individual ratings and reviews for each of the stories in this book, so if you want to check that out, you can. I really enjoyed this book. There were some stories that I loved so much more than others because there were some stories that I just didn't like at all, but I think that's always going to be the experience when you're reading someone's short stories, so this was really fun and I highly recommend it. Next up, I read See You in the Cosmos by Jack Chang, which is one of my most disappointing books of this year because I went into it thinking that I was going to love it, and then I ended up really not loving it. So I recently did a rant review about this book and I will leave the link to that on the screen so that you guys can check it out if you're interested. After that, I picked up Empress of a Thousand Skies by Rhoda Belleza, and this is one that I kind of have mixed feelings about. I don't think the main characters were as developed as they should have been, and I found the story quite predictable a lot of the time, but I did really like the writing and I liked the setting and all the space and stuff like that, and I really liked that it had the Lost Princess trope, which is one of my favorites, so I think I'm going to continue this series because I am curious to see where the story goes. The next book I read is The School for Good and Evil, The Last Ever After by Saman Chanani, and I was so disappointed with this as a finale to the series. This book is 650 pages long, and for so much of that, the story just goes in circles and it was so incredibly unnecessary. Sophie is potentially the most infuriating character ever. I felt like characters took like huge leaps backwards in character development for seemingly no reason, and it was just infuriating. This book introduced like so many new characters who it expected us to remember, who had some kind of significance on the plot, but it was just random, it was disjointed, it was really disappointing. So I think there is going to be another book in this series that takes place like a while after this one and is maybe the start of a new series, but after this one I don't think I'm going to be reading it. This next one is actually just an audiobook that I had been listening to in my car for ages, and I finally finished it in July, and so I'm going to mention it briefly, and that audiobook was The Hero of Ages by Brendan Sanderson. This was a reread for me, so there was no huge surprises or anything like that, but what I did find interesting was that because I was listening to an audiobook and there was a bit of a forced pace, I picked up on more little things that I hadn't before, and when I finished listening to this I was much less satisfied with the ending, just found it a little disappointing and stuff like that. So I still really enjoyed this and I still love the Mistborn trilogy, but the ending was much less satisfying for me and just not what it could have been, I don't think, but still an amazing audiobook. The final thing that I read in July is the entire 27-volume Full Metal Alchemist manga series. I was really trying to pace myself with this series. I would read like 5 volumes of this and then 1 book, and then another 5 volumes and then 1 book, but the story got so good that I could not control myself and I ended up just binge reading the series, and it was amazing and I have no regrets at all. I enjoyed this manga a crazy amount. I love the characters, I love the art, I love the story, I love the fighting, I love the humor. I just loved everything about it, and I am going to be doing a full series review of this soon, hopefully once I get my thoughts together a bit more, so you guys can look forward to that. Those are my thoughts on the books that I read in July though, guys. If you have also read any of these books, be sure to let me know what you thought down in the comments. I upload videos Wednesdays, Saturdays, and sometimes Mondays as well, so be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in my next video. Toodaloo!